Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unplug IT. I'm your host, Stephen Rose, and thanks for joining us today. Hey, look, new camera. No more going back and forth, no more fuzzy. Thanks for the feedback. I think we're good now. When I lived in California, I spent many an afternoon at a popular place with my daughter that I liked to call "Where Did My Money Go Land?" As a matter of fact, I had Copilot build this for me, and it did a really good job. And it's pretty close to the experience. That's pretty much exactly what happened. But what you don't see, as with most companies, is what's happening behind the scenes. Over the past year, there has been a dramatic increase of hacker activity. And I'm sure most of you have seen this, and it's been pretty startling the different and very creative ways that hackers are trying to get into and at your information. IT needs to think like a hacker. And when it comes to security, which is, easy to manage for users with things like MFA and such, but app security becomes a whole different thing because now with app integration into different apps and into teams and people bringing in third-party apps to do their work, it gets a lot more confusing. So today we uncovered the tips and tricks to application security management on this week's Unplug IT. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining us here at Unplug IT. I'm very, very excited to welcome Sean Hurley to the show. Sean, how are you?
Doing great. You look great.
I appreciate it. So do you. You've been doing security for a long time. So take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of dig into enterprise apps and app security and how you view this in dealing with a really large company that has probably more apps than most do and a really complex group of users.
Yeah, Stephen, I started my career taking telephone calls for Earthlink Network.
Nice.
Started way back in 1998, talking with individuals trying to get on the internet. That's really where I started my career. From there, I did a lot of consulting work. Did a stint over at Microsoft for a while. Did a lot of Exchange, a lot of Active Directory, and learned a lot about um, how individuals or how individual companies build their identity management solutions. I also worked in the security realm with Symantec for a while, doing some intrusion detection and firewall setups and things like that. Really taught me how to learn how to think like a hacker.
Right.
When you're implementing something, you have to think, how can I defeat this? And so that's really where I got my start in security. Um, and a lot of that, all of those lessons were uh, really around identity management.
Got it. So I know when I'm having an issue with an app, I'll, you know, try to dig in to see what's going wrong or where's the sending information to. How do you look at enterprise apps versus things like app registration and things along that line? How do what's sort of your first step when you go, okay, we got to lock these things down? We've now figured out hopefully how many we have and where they're at, but what are some of the key things that you look at when you're looking at an app or a third party app that's being used inside of your organization or maybe even inside of an app that you've approved for your organization?
Well, what really sparked a lot of my interest in app security was Microsoft's illicit user grant bulletin. Came out a
What is
couple of
that?
years.
Yeah, what is that?
The illicit user grant bulletin they posted a few years ago talks about how when Microsoft built this system, the there was a setting that allowed users to approve access to their data
Right.
without going through any security controls, without talking to security. And it was open. And so they posted this bulletin on, you should probably turn this off. Turn off user grant. Do what's called admin consent. and go through the admin consent process.
Right.
And that really sparked the thought of, well, what are all these settings? What is an app registration? What,
Right.
what is an enterprise app? How do
Yeah.
these work together? So I got an opportunity to talk to the program manager at Microsoft. Really learned a lot about app registrations and enterprise apps and how they work together. And you really have to think about how these applications integrate within your environment and what you want to allow.
Right. It's kind of like looking at Task Manager. Once you crack it open, you see all of these other things that are going on and all these other connections, and it's understanding all those and where they're at. So you're looking at all these apps, you're looking at the APIs and what it's connecting to and what it isn't and where it's going. How do you sort of tackle all that? Because that seems like a really big thing, especially when you get to an organization that has, over 50,000 users. Where do you start?
When we really started digging into this, we realized that with an organization our size, there are thousands of applications that are getting registered. When we
Right.
finally got our hands around this, and before you get a system of management of all of these things, now you have to go back and you have to take a look at all of what has been registered,
Right.
what applications are doing, and it's a big spider web because you have to go through individually and figure all this out. Are
Right.
they especially with the information Microsoft has provided recently on, there's an increase of 10 times more hacks in the app registration space. What is a high level API that's going to give you elevated rights? What's low level? And so taking a look at everything holistically was very difficult. We really needed some help in that space.
So Microsoft is allowing users now to register apps and external to access APIs that can be internal or can be external. How are you looking at the security rights around this? So when you start to dig in and go, okay, now that we kind of have an idea on what is going in and out, how do you make those decisions on what's allowed and what isn't allowed? What's that process look like?
Well, now we put in an app registration process. Every time there's a request to have another application put into the environment, we have a process that says, take a
Hang on, let me ask something. Does everybody actually put in a request or do some people just go ahead and do it?
No. So we've turned off the ability to register
Got it.
application. Well,
Okay.
let's put it this way. You can register an application and list your APIs, but they have to be admin consented before they can do anything. So it gives us the ability to put in a process to have legal take a look at it, have security take a look at it, make sure there isn't a service that already exists that the users should be using, make sure it's following engineering specs. If it's a high-level messaging app API, do we scope it? Is it being
Right.
scoped properly? So we get an opportunity to make sure that it's being implemented correctly. Problem is, before that user consent was turned off, we had to go back, take a look at all of our applications, and find
Right.
out those that have those API rights that haven't been scoped yet.
What are some red flags? Like if you're going through this process and let's say you're training somebody new or getting somebody familiar with this, what are 2 or 3 red flags that the moment you hear or see this, you go, yep, there's going to be an issue. We need to take a look at this more closely. What are the words that keep you up at night? I guess is probably the best way to put that.
I'm going to put in another application that reads everybody's email.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no. So some of those, when we're looking at the APIs that are available and what people are looking for, is it and if you don't know about this, you need to look into it. What is a delegated app versus an
Right.
application, right? And if you go delegated, what does that mean for this particular use case? Is this a box application, or is this something that an internal developer is developing? Do they understand the APIs and how they work? Or are they just like everybody, give me admin rights? It'll
Right.
work.
How do you feel about something like Copilot, which is going to be reading email, looking at all the information within M365? What are your thoughts on that? Because that seems like the type of thing that goes against what you're talking about, but there are safeguards in it. So kind of walk me through what you're thinking there.
Yeah, Copilot's one of those interesting new frontiers. Um, how much information can Copilot see? Are you giving it access to everything? In order for it to work, it really has to be able to see as much
Right.
information as possible to bring everything together. So, Copilot is something that we are very careful with, and making sure that we put the right rails in place.
Got it. Got it. How do you feel about AI as an app and leveraging AI within this? Because now it has the chance to bring in information that could be copyrighted, things along that line. I know this isn't directly into the security, but this is a question that I've been getting over the last week, and I think you probably have a good perspective on this.
AI is one again, and one of those new frontiers. You don't know what you don't know. I think it's one of those double-edged swords where it's going to be extremely helpful to our users, to the communities, to the IT community. But you really have to be careful, understand what it's doing,
Right.
understand what it's touching, and really get a good lens on what it's doing.
And don't trust it 100%. Question everything. That's kind of at the core of a lot of this is really question everything. And what if it doesn't make sense, try to figure out why it doesn't.
Don't turn it on. Turn it on slowly.
Right, yeah, and to a group of sandboxed users that you can manage and all of that. Now, good advice, I agree. So, what sort of tools are you using to bring this to the forefront and to really make this easier? Because that sounds like a lot of work if you were gonna try to do that manually, and there's not really enough tools today out there to do this to the level that you're talking about. So, how did you get this done, and what were those steps once you really got, your hands around this?
Yeah, like I said, there was quite a bit of back work that needed to be done, and a lot of that work can be done with PowerShell scripts and things like that. Um, Scripting something and having to manage those scripts, especially when they change the scripting language on you in the back end, becomes very difficult. I
Right?
reached out, yeah, I reached out to a company called eNow.
Mhm.
We do some work with them on the Exchange space, Active Directory space, and said, "Hey, I've got this problem. Uh, I really have to get my hands around this. Is this something you'd be interested in taking a look at?" And through that conversation, um, we with them developed a solution that gives us ability to see all of our applications and where we sit within our app registrations and enterprise apps in a simple to view um, screen. Categorizes all of your applications and kind of gives you a score of where you sit within app registrations.
All right. Let's do a demo. I think it'd be great for you to walk us through this. So we'll be right back with a demo of the eNow software and continue our conversation with Sean Hurley. All right, Sean, go ahead and walk through the app governance software.
Yeah, thank you. This is the App Governance Accelerator. This is the scorecard. When we click at the top here, this gives me a scorecard of where we sit within Microsoft's best practices for application governance. So eNow has a system where it will take all of your information and give you a score based on all of those best practices. And these are it's a good overview of where you sit in each one of these categories. Now you can dive deeper into these categories within app registrations, and this is really great. It gives you a quick view of, hey, how many applications have been registered within the last 30 days? This is my test tenant, so I just have a couple of test applications that I've created within the past couple of days. But it shows me, hey, here are all the applications that have been registered within the past 30 days. Are these right? Are these things that you recognize? Um, but it also goes a little bit deeper in and
What
said,
what what is what is the red versus the green on here?
These will show you whether or not these are enabled.
Mhm.
And uh, You can also dive in and take a look at your secrets and your certificates of each one of these. Now, if you wanted to organize this and say, hey, how many of my certificates are about to expire?
Right.
Yeah, the service is going to go down pretty quick. This also gives you an opportunity to say, hey, do we have, you have password requirements. If you have a certificate that's going to last for 60 years, you probably want to take a look at that.
Right.
But also your secrets as well. Are your secrets about to expire? Are they, when were they created? Things like that. So it gives you an organization of those things. What it also provides is and this is really neat. So they've just added this. The recent hack that Microsoft has raised the past couple of weeks gives you an opportunity to kind of view into that quite a bit. So now you can take a look at your applications that have risky graph APIs applied to it. And so I have things like,
Well, I see Apple Business Manager. Is this working both on Mac and PC or just on PC? And that is, I mean, is this across all platforms?
this is across your entire application platform within
Got it.
Azure. Apple
Okay.
Business Manager happens to be one of the applications that integrates with Azure. So this is showing, hey, here's an application that has user read capabilities. If we take a look at one of my test applications here, let's scroll down. And we've got calendars read write, contacts read write. And of course, I don't have any, this is a test tenant, so I don't have any users that are approved to use these applications, but it'll show you how many users have the capability of doing these things.
And then if you click on that, I'm assuming it shows you the users and would then bring up those. Yeah.
Yeah. So each one of these, you can click directly into the application to take a look at it, and it will open up a new browser window, and it'll show you, hey, here's your application. This is the one that we're talking about.
Awesome. This is great. And then is this something that you have customized or have worked with eNow to customize, or is this pretty much how it looks out of the box? Kind of tell me your experience there.
So a lot of the challenges that we've had managing these applications here, which ones have owners? Who are the owners? What are the certificates expiring? How many have high risky APIs available to them? These are things that we were very, very interested in. So eNow had taken our suggestions and our challenges and put that into this system. Now, a lot of this gives you report capabilities, but we're also working on alerting capabilities and also automation capabilities. So, hey, this application that was created in past 30 days, let's reach out to that user and see what they are trying to do and ask them, hey, why is this happening? So there will be we're working on some automation pieces as well.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Jay Gandotra, who is the CEO and founder. Talk to him a little bit about it, and then we're going to come back and talk about some lessons learned. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back with CEO founder Jay Gandotra from eNow. Jay, how you doing?
Thanks for having me, Stephen. How are you?
I'm good. Always good to see you. Why did you decide to build this tool in the first place? Was there just a lot of folks asking, overwhelming need, something you saw personally? What was the initial motivation around this?
Well, they say timing is everything. My dad was not doing well. He was kind of on his way to transitioning. I had a moment of clarity where I ran the company for 19 years, stepped away from product about 10 years ago, and then had the epiphany that why don't I just take product back? Because that's what I love to do. At that same time, Sean and I were having a conversation, and he presented this problem to me. At the time, being an Exchange AD guy and Office 365, didn't know a lot about Entra. I knew enough, but not to the level of understanding the difference between application registration and an enterprise app. He started kind of explaining the problem to me. And when he explained the business impact, it kind of checked all the boxes. And I wanted to sink my teeth into it. I love complex problems. And that's exactly how we got into this, and I'm really grateful for Sean and another Microsoft MVP who actually helped me bring this to life. Sandra Berkowauer
Oh
was
yeah.
really a driving force behind this.
I saw Sonder while I was seeing some friends at MVP Summit just 2 weeks ago, and he and Raymond Convelius, who's another good friend of mine, they brought me Stroopwafels, so I was quite happy. So that's awesome. No, I know him. Let's take a look at the site and kind of walk us through the experience and what folks see when they go here. We're going to put the banner up in case you want to go check this out, and that's at appgovscore.com. So take a moment, kind of walk us through this.
So when I got into the problem and started talking to our client base, and we serve some of the largest companies in the world, what I learned is this topic around application security and governance is a blind spot. People know maybe the first, if it's a 12-layer chocolate cake, they know the first 3 or 4 layers, but then it gets really complex. So as it gets complex, I was talking to Sean, I was talking to Sonder, and we felt like we needed to educate. I felt like I wanted to give back. The community has been great to me over the 19 years running my business. So we built this separate site called appgovscore.com. You can come up here and try the tool for free. It will give you an AppGov score, which is governed by MVPs. It checks your tenant. So it looks very similar to what Sean showed you. It kind of runs through a 24-point checklist and gives you a report card. And then what you can do on the site is you can come to this site and start reading. So for example, if you wanted to read about public client flows, which is a topic that is not really well understood, you can come in here. MVPs have written very detailed articles that explain what is a public client flow, why you should care, how do you go solve this? So even if you didn't want to buy the paid version of the product,
Right.
you could come in here and solve it. We've also created a forum where you can
I've
come
read
in and ask
these
questions.
blogs, and they're really great. They really do go into good details, step by step, and it's not just promotion for the product. It really is, hey, here's a problem, here's what's out there, and very often it's not about the eNow product at all, but just what's going on in the industry, trends, things along that line, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the MVPs have been great in supporting our products, but this forum site's really cool because you can come in here, like someone posted about Microsoft deprecating the users can add gallery app setting. You can see, Saunders answering. There's another MVP commenting on this. So if you have a question about a SaaS app, should Salesforce have 8 enterprise apps? The answer is no. But how would you know that, right? So you can come up here and ask questions, and it's really community driven. So I would encourage your audience to go try the tool. It's free. I guarantee it will provide value. Each report actually tells you and educates you beyond the blog and gives you links to Microsoft so you can start learning about the problem and solving it ultimately.
Awesome. So that's appgovscore.com, and folks go check this out. They can download it for free. They can play with this and get to use it. What does a paid version get you that a free version does not? I guess is probably the question that we're going to get from folks.
Great question. So the free version gives you the report card. The paid version gives you the answer. So the paid version might say you have 8 public client flows. You can read the blog, go find out how to do it. The paid version will enumerate the public client flows. It will go into the audit log and show you are users using it. And then it has alerting capability, so it can alert your users if a cert's going to expire, alert your users. And then what we're working on right now that'll be available in a few weeks is the workflow automation. That's actually emailing a user saying you're in violation of XYZ policy.
Right.
Please pick 1 of 3 choices. And then the app will go in and disable the application if you configure it that way. So we really want to solve it and go full lifecycle management, automation of onboarding, offboarding, and remediation. So you can put your governance policy in place and have this continuously monitor your Entra ID application landscape.
Awesome. And will you be at the M365 conference in April? Are you guys going to be
there?
Awesome.
Absolutely. So the rumors we're going to be throwing one of our scheduled maintenance parties. So please hit us up. We'd love to have you there. And obviously, Stephen, we know you're going to be there. So always fun to hang out with you.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks so much, Jay. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
Thank you.
All right. We're back with Sean. Sean, as we close out the show, what are some lessons learned? What would you share with other folks that you have walked away with, or things that you've learned in doing this that people should just be aware of or should keep in mind?
Microsoft does a good job at trying to help you put together a good solution, but they also turn things on by default that sometimes should be turned off. So you really need to keep an eye on the new things that are coming up and what's What are the new switches and buttons that need to be turned off? Keep an eye on that. Also, it really helps to have a partner help you develop ways to protect yourself.
Right.
And eNow's been a fantastic partner. Really looking forward to a lot of the new automation processes, because that's really what's also been a very difficult piece of this whole puzzle. Is how do you automate managing your application registrations?
Got it. Keeping an eye on Message Center, reading the blogs is important too. Microsoft has a What's New blog for most of the products every month, and taking a look at that roadmap, things along that's important. How do you, sort of keep on top of all of that sort of stuff? Because there's, last year, the year before, there was over 400 new features in Teams and over 200 new plugins and things like that. How do you sort of keep abreast of all that without spending all your time doing that?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to really keep abreast, having a day job and still trying to learn everything as it comes up. The community has been a fantastic opportunity. All the bloggers out there watching all the podcasts. They do a lot of really good work at gathering all that information and giving it to you in a quick 15-20 minute presentation. So learning through podcasts has really been helpful.
Awesome. Sean, I want to thank you for taking some time today to sit and chat with us and share all this. This is some really great and very valuable information, I'm sure, for a lot of our users. So thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Hey, everybody. And that's it for our show this week. I want to thank our guests, Jake and Dotra from eNow, and Sean Hurley, and all of you for tuning in. I'm going to be doing a lot of conferences in the next few months, so we'll keep you up to date on that. Got lots of good new product information coming. Daryl's got a new show coming out in the next week or so watch for that. But give us some feedback. Keep watching the shows. Let us know. Thank all of you who gave us such great feedback on the Teams Premium versus Copilot show. And with that, I'm your host, Stephen Rose. This is Unplug IT. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.